Here's Brody Brazil.
You know, before today, probably the biggest headline surrounding the Tampa Bay Rays this season is the success they're having yet again as a group. They've been near the top of the AL East standings the entire time. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to flirt with 100 wins this season. But I've got to say, the developments of today and what's been going on for weeks and months and what is probably going to be announced tomorrow is a stadium deal. And that alone, knowing what I know about teams and futures and potential relocation and how messy it can get, I think this stadium deal just became the biggest headline of the Tampa Bay Rays season. It has to be. It could secure their existence in Florida for another 30, 40, or 50 years, not to mention the project and the development to go along with it. And we've always known that there were probably these three outcomes for the Rays. Number one, you stay near the Trop, you stay in St. Petersburg, or you move to Tampa, like to go with your name. Yeah, most people may not even know. They're the Tampa Bay Rays, but they play in St. Petersburg. The current Tropicana Field domed stadium used to be called the Suncoast Dome. That's actually in St. Pete, which is a bit of an inconvenient drive away from Tampa. Or the other option, the third choice, which kind of just emerged in the last, 6 or 8 months, was a potential relocation to Orlando. Now, you look at all three of these outcomes, staying in St. Pete. Of course, it would be criticized for the location. It's still not the favorite geographic spot for this team among locals, and we'll get into that consideration in just a second. The move to Tampa and the Ybor Harbor site. Everybody said that would have been the sexy choice here for the Rays, but a bunch of different things made it difficult. That didn't work out. That is a 14-acre site. It looks like they're going to move forward with that project without a baseball stadium there. Or like I said, the third and final outcome here was a potential move to Orlando. That group has emerged in Orlando. They're already calling themselves the Orlando Dreamers. They don't really care whether it's expansion or relocation. They want to acquire a baseball team in Orlando, which is, by the way, 90 miles away from Tampa? That's a really close proximity to an existing market. So the thought that both of those could exist is probably not likely. You know, if Orlando really wanted a team, maybe their best effort was to steal Tampa. And by the way, I've just got to say, because of the A's situation and the A's process, I realize this is an announcement, and I'm happy for the Rays and their fans and that they don't have to get to this, tumultuous spot of potential relocation and all those messy things. But I also realize that until shovels are in the ground and things officially move forward, we're not there yet. But this is obviously what the Rays are planning on. So now that we've assessed those three outcomes, we can kind of look at this location in St. Pete. It's the gas plant district. Basically right next to Tropicana. They're going to bulldoze that at some point. Here's some renderings. That pyramid-shaped design of a domed stadium, it's not even retractable. They're just keeping it closed the entire time. And a whole development to go with it. So as I talk about the A's earlier, this is not like the Howard Terminal option for the Oakland A's. This is not the sexy, smaller, better placed site. This is the site right next to where they've been playing with plenty of acreage and the opportunity to build what most teams and investors are looking for these days, and that is the Ballpark Village. The stadium surrounded by shops and businesses and restaurants and hotel spaces and even another performance venue. I think that's actually part of the plans here at the gas plant district, is to have a whole nother indoor performance center and whatnot. And I think there are some historical and cultural ties to this site and what they plan to do. And I have a different video on that from when this project was announced, I think back in early 2023. So more on that in some other video, but this one is kind of all about the future and what they're planning to do. This gas plant site, 86 total acres. They're public acres. Obviously, they want to build a new ballpark to go along with 5,700 housing units. I think at Howard Terminal at 55 acres or whatever that is, the A's wanted to do 3,000. So this is a huge project over time. 86 acres, 5,700 new housing units, 1.4 million square feet of office space, 300,000 square feet of retail space. Oh yeah, 700 hotel rooms, 600 senior living locations, a 2,500 seat performance venue. I'm going to assume that's indoors or at least covered to some degree. And then 14 of those 86 acres are dedicated to open space. And look, you saw those renderings. It looks very nice. It looks very doable. They've got plenty of land. As for the ballpark itself, around 30,000 seats. Now, you've heard me going on 30,000 seats before plenty of times with the A's in Las Vegas. I'm okay with the number 30,000. Let's be very clear. I've never been critical of teams downsizing their ballparks for the future. They'd rather have a more intimate, controllable environment. That's fine. My criticism of the A's in Las Vegas and 30,000 is that they need 28,700 every single night over 30 years to pay off their bonds. And that means you nearly have to sell out every single game for 30 straight years. If we're saying that the Rays don't have to hit a certain attendance number and they're just trying to make a ballpark for an environment that they like, that's fine. There's no pressure for them, as far as I understand it right now, that they need attendance to pay for the venue or the entire development, right? So to be very clear, I'm critical about the A's in that situation because it's not feasible. No major league team has a capacity of 30,000 and averages 28,700. It just does not happen over 81 home dates for 30 straight years. But again, the Rays starting small, that number might get up to 34,000, 35,000. It's going to cost in excess of $1.2 billion. Again, that's where the number starts. Also, again, this is a fixed roof venue. When you go retractable, your price goes up by maybe even $500 million. Retractable roof stadiums are very expensive. Fixed dome means it has artificial turf. I'll be honest, that's also part of this situation and equation. I think Rays fans, Rays players, people inside the Rays organization would love to get away from playing on fake grass. They would love any way possible to play on real turf, some type of hybrid indoor-outdoor stadium situation, but that's kind of one of the drawbacks of this gas plant district site ballpark is that they're going to do a dome and they're going to do fake grass to go along with it. St. Petersburg and Pinellas County are going to be paying for some portion of this. Maybe we'll find out more when questions are asked and the official announcement is made. But the team has already said that they're going to be paying for, quote, half or more of the stadium project alone. Again, the stadium costing $1.2 billion is the initial projection. You know how these things go. That'll probably end up at 1.8 by 2028 when they want to open the ballpark. The Rays realize that they need a huge influx of cash right now. So they're already talking to investors who might contribute as much as $600 million in exchange for shares of the team. The Rays are essentially selling portions of their team to raise money to pay for this stadium. And that alone has also been a question in the A's process in Las Vegas. The A's have not really opened the door to that. Whether it's being offered behind the scenes or not, I guess we'll find out in time. But the Rays have flat out said, yeah, we'll be taking investors on to raise money so that we definitely have enough to pay for this and to pay for the overages. I think there's a lot of sense being made in that. Tampa Mayor Jane Castor. Now, again, Tampa, this is not St. Pete, where they're staying for right now for planning purposes. Is Tampa upset by this? They had a chance to secure the Rays, move them to a more convenient spot for people of the Tampa-St. Pete region. She said, quote, "We've said from day one that the ultimate goal was keeping the Tampa Bay Rays in Tampa Bay." Oh, do I relate to that? And our community can celebrate that outcome. Ugh, am I depressed by that right now? A Tampa stadium would be ideal, but the team understood they had to contribute more resources up front to make that happen than building in St. Pete. There's a lot of parallels instantly to the A's and to Howard Terminal and to the Coliseum site and to Las Vegas here. Howard Terminal was the Ybor Harbor site. Harder to do, but a sexier location. But there was always supposed to be the Coliseum as the fallback. A lot of people feel like the Rays are doing the fallback right now. They're taking plan B. The Rays are actually being criticized for not really pushing to go to Tampa and make it more convenient and a better end result for decades for their fans. But they are securing their team. The A's actually went out before 2020 and bought half of the Coliseum site for the purpose of using it as a backup plan to make sure that they kept the A's in Oakland. And that's not happening. That's not the plan. So I just want to say this is kind of a look at an alternate reality for A's people, that the Rays are going with the most secure route, more land, development, all that stuff. Maybe they realized that Tampa just wasn't going to work. Like the A's realized for them and their resources and abilities and, lack of experiences as developers, maybe they realized that they were just not going to pull off Howard Terminal. So instead of going to the plan B for their town, Oakland, like the Rays did here, they went to their plan B for St. Pete, and it was St. Pete. Interesting how that worked out differently in Florida than California. By the way, if none of those two sites worked out, like I said before, the Orlando Dreamers have existed this entire time. This is kind of almost like Las Vegas, a tourist town. There's, I'll say vultures, but there's a group out there that's waiting to pounce on this opportunity. Oh, you may not be staying. Oh, you're having trouble figuring out a stadium site. Well, look what we've dreamed up here. Now, this may happen someday. This may not happen someday. Again, I have an issue with, like, you already got the Marlins in Miami. You've got, Tampa in St. Pete. And 90 minutes up the road, would you really have Orlando? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if and when this will ever play out, but I did find this funny. On this beautiful rendering of a new, indoor glass facility, look at that, that jumbo screen right there. Look at what the TV is displaying. Is that an A's game at the Coliseum of all things? Do they think that would still exist in the 2030s? That is so bizarre. Yeah, look at that image. That's that's a photo or a video still frame from a baseball game at the Coliseum. I don't know what A's catcher that is. It's hard for me to tell in that small size, or even who they're playing against there. A yellow jersey sliding in. Anyway, so the Orlando Dreamers are going to keep dreaming for now. But again, just going back to the Rays and the decision they made. Ybor Harbor, there it is on top, right on the water in Tampa. Oh, this is so parallel to the A's situation. And then there's the gas plant district, where there's right now an old outdated stadium. And let's remember, the Trop was built for anything. It was built in, I think it opened in 1991. When did the Rays come around? 97? 97, 98? Early 90s it opened. Late 90s, the Rays actually became a thing. They tried so many times to lure the Mariners, the White Sox, the Giants. Tampa struck out every single time for different reasons. They had the stadium already built. They couldn't get a team. Finally, they were allowed to have an expansion team. They got the Rays. And so that stadium has honestly been outdated, and it's never been the right thing from the start. What does that sound like? The Coliseum. Oh, which was being built for football, for the Raiders. And then when Charlie O'Finley in the Kansas City days heard that, Oakland's building a stadium, I could move my team to Oakland. He did. And there you have it. A football stadium that got baseball played there for more than 55 years. So it's interesting that the Rays are choosing this because it's easier and it keeps them in Tampa versus this, which maybe they tried to some degree. And look, I don't know if this just wasn't going to work or whatever. You tell me what logistically got in the way of Howard Terminal. What ultimately stopped it? Negotiation between the A's and Oakland? Okay, but what? There was nobody in the Howard Terminal process who said, nope, you can't do this because of an environmental impact report. Or the BCDC said you couldn't use this land. No, they said you could use this land. There were some difficult hurdles which all got jumped. Lawsuits against the EIR, which got dismissed. There was nothing up to this point besides the A's and their negotiations with the city of Oakland that stopped Howard Terminal. Maybe there was something that stopped Ybor Harbor. Money, logistics, politics, who knows? But the Rays are choosing to go the route they know they can go. So by the way, their lease at the Trop is until 2027. So they've got to figure some things out quick. That's why they're already pinpointing 2028 is when they want to play in their new stadium. It's a tight timeline. I don't know, again, with the rest of the development, is the land flat and ready to go? Maybe this is easy for them to hit 2028, but they've got to get on this quick. And like I said, they announced this late 22, I think, early 23. They've been at this for a while, but now that they're announcing it, making it official, it brings me to this huge question. Is baseball really one step closer now to expansion and expansion cities? And what effects does this decision and this announcement have on what the A's will or will not do with Las Vegas and a relocation vote, yes or no, by major league owners? Quite honestly, I always thought that there was so much more pressure on the A's. The A's were farther along in this, that the A's situation, one way or another, would be resolved first. Oh no, you know it wouldn't be that easy. It looks like the Rays are going to be resolved first. So what effect does the Rays being resolved here have on what happens or not to the A's? I don't know. I could see a multitude of different scenarios playing out. Maybe owners at this point are just like, hey, we're that close to getting $4 billion in revenue checks from expansion fees. Maybe we just want to get to that as soon as possible. Approve Oakland, let's go. Approve Las Vegas from Oakland, let's go. Maybe that's how they view it. But again, I know that there's a lot of people in Tampa who are saying, and St. Pete who are saying, you picked the easier stadium site. You didn't swing for the fences. You got a single and you're playing it like it's a home run. Maybe. And look, people are also critical of that design, the pyramid and the fact that it is a dome and it's artificial turf all over again. Are you just repeating what you have done for the last 30 years? Maybe to some extent. But let's face it, this is what major league teams and city and county entities want these days, and that is the Ballpark Village. It's a stadium surrounded by development and a brand new area and region and housing and commercial. That's what they want. So it looks like that's what St. Pete is going to get. And again, I say it to all you Rays fans out there, like literally congratulations, because if this means you don't have to go through what A's fans in Oakland have been going through, and you'll get something brand new and you'll get out of the Trop. You'll just, even if it's kicking the can down the road, that's better than packing your bags and having your team move somewhere else. Trust me on that. Thumbs up. You made it here to the end of the video down below. I appreciate that. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel so I can see you back here next time.